So we have seen how to protect our password by storing them in alternate places instead of storing those in source control. At present, we are storing a user password in plain text. That is really not a good approach to store the password in a plain text, because anyone who has access to this table can easily steal this information and be able to log in into the application. Let's see how to protect this password using some algorithm so that human cannot read the password even if he or she get access to this data table next. One way to protect this password is that we can use some encryption algorithm. But the drawback of encryption is that it is a two-way function. That means what is encrypted can be decrypted with the proper key. And the attacker who has been able to get the access to the encrypted password might also be able to get the access to the keys. So hashing is the solution to such problem, because it is a one-way function that scrambles a plain text to produce a unique message digest. An attacker cannot reverse the hashing process. But again, simply hashing the password is not a good approach, because people has a tendency to use the same passwords and commonly used passwords, and an attacker can run a collection of million or so commonly used password through a hashing algorithm and get a list called a rainbow table. And then this table can be used to easily compare a password hashes against the user table. There are many free online sites as well that provides a dictionary to these commonly used hash, and anyone can decrypt the hashed password using these sites. For example, there is a site that is md5decrypt.net that has more than 15 billions hash in their rainbow table. For example, I have tried to decrypt these two hashes that are commonly used password, and I have been able to get the decrypted password for these two hashes easily. So this one is successfully decoded to password @ 123. So simply hashing a password can be compromised using these online hashing dictionary or using brute force attack. In order to protect our password from this type of attacks, we use a salt key to add more security to the hashed password. A salt is a random unique key we add to the user password, and then we hash our password. In that way, we are able to make every password to generate a unique hash, and it makes it difficult to get the hashed password found in such online dictionaries. So we are going to use the SHA-512 cryptographic function to hash our password that use a salt key to generate a unique hash for every password, even if two users have provided the same password. Let's see how to do the same in our application next. So first of all, we need to change the data type of this password to var binary so that we can store binary information in this field. We are not going to directly change this data type here from the database. Instead, we will change the data type in our user model. And in C#, we need to use a byte array to store any binary information in a field. As we are going to use salt key as well to add more security to our password, let's take another field of type byte array and name it password key. As you already know, for any type of change in model, we need to add the migration. Let's name it update user for password encryption. Build failed. Let's check where the issue is in the build by running .NET build command. So error is saying the issue is in a user repository at line number 19. Let's go to that line to understand what the issue is. Here we are getting the error, and the issue is now user.password is a type of byte array, and we cannot compare these two just by simply equal operator. Let's comment out this line for the moment and rebuild our application. So this time no error. That means now our migration should be added successfully. Yup, it's added. And if we review our migration, it is altering the password column and adding a new column for password key. Let's run a database command to update the database. But we are getting the error that implicit conversion from nvarchar to var-binary is not allowed. Such errors are usually generated when due to some policies we are not allowed to do anything on the database. Let's try to drop the password column first in this migration. We need to provide the column name as parameter and table name from where this column needs to be dropped. And we are adding a new column after dropping the existing one. We do not need these two lines. Let's also give a default value as it was already there in our existing column. Let's rerun the database update command. My mistake. We were to use add column here instead of altering the column. Try to update the database one more time. Yep, this time migration successfully applied. Let's verify the same in database. So this column has been updated to var-binary and a new column has been added. And if you look at the data, you can see our password is now storing in binary form, not just a plain text. Next, we will add a register method in repository to save the password hash in this field. So as we are using a repository pattern, first we need to add the signature in our iUser repository interface. At present, we will just use username and password to register a user. Our signature is matched with the exactly this authenticate method. But we will come back here and we'll change it later to accept more data like mobile number and email. For now, let's just make a copy of this and give it a name register. We need to add one more method that should return boolean value. We will return an error in our controller in case user already exists in the database. So our method signature are added in the interface. Let's implement these methods in our concrete user repository. It is showing a red line here as we have not implemented newly added methods in this repository. Press Ctrl dot and select implement interface. So these two methods are added at the bottom. Let's add two variables of type byte array, one for password hash and another one to store password key. That will contain the salt key to add more security to our password. We are going to use HMAC SHA512 class to create a hash of the password. And as it is a disposable class, let's initialize this class inside using so that it automatically call the dispose method on this class once the operation is completed. Take a variable named HMAC. HMAC is actually the short form of hash based message authentication code. Add the required namespace for this class and it is under system.security.cryptographic namespace. Get the salt key in the password variable using hmac.key. This is a random key generated by this class when it is initialized, and get the password hash using hmac.computeHash. As this method accepts a byte array, we need to get the byte array from a string using system.text.encoding.utf8.getBytes method and pass our text password here. So now our password key and password hash are generated. We can store the same in our database. Let's add all this information in a user object. Using data context.user.add to add this user in data context. Let's also implement this method. It is very simple. We just need to use data context.users.anyasync method. This method will return true if this table contains the element that we are passing here using lambda expression, and check if the username in this table matches with the username we are passing in this method. So we have both the method here in this user repository that we can use in our controller to expose a method to register a new user. Let's borrow this code from the login method and rename it to a register. Keep this login request data only. For now, we need to pass identical information as login method here as well. We will add a separate DTO for register method later. So here, first of all, we need to check if user already exists or not by calling this method in our user repository. And if user already exists, let's return bad request with the message user already exists. Please try something else. Or you can use your own better version for this message. And if the user does not exist, let's call register method on repository and pass username and password in this method. Finally, save the data in the database using unit-of-work.saveasync method and return status code 201. That is the code for created message to display that record has successfully been added using this endpoint. So our register method is complete. Let's test it. So copy this login method and make the required changes to run our newly added register endpoint and change it to register here in URL. So this user already exists in our database, and if we try to register this user, it should throw bad request error. Perfect, we are getting this error, user already exists. Let's try to add different name. Yup, record created successfully, and check the same in database. So a new user is added with a hashed password in binary form, and this is a long alphanumeric string that cannot be decoded, and this pass key as well stored in our database. We will use this key to generate same hash for this user when we will authenticate the user. Let's try to add another user with the same password. You can see, although John and Bob have same password, but both of these passwords have different values. So even if someone is able to get the password of one user, that person is not able to identify if any other person in the database also has the same password. So this is the benefit of using salt key on hash. Next, we will have to make the changes in our login method, and because at present we are not checking password in this login endpoint, so even if we are entering the wrong password, we are getting this JWT token in response. So here in this authenticate method, we were previously matching password as well here, but now it is not possible to directly match the password we are getting from the user. We first need to compute hash for this password, and then we need to match that computed hash with the password hash that's stored in our database. So let's fetch the user info in a user variable, and if there is no such user available in the database, this user object will have null value, and we should return null if no such user exists. In this case, our controller is responsible to throw an error if this method will return null in the user object, and if a user exists, we will match password hash. We will create this function soon, and this method will return true if the password matched. This method should have 3 parameters to generate the hash and matching it with the database. First one is the password text that we are getting from the user. that is a plain text. Another one is the password that we are getting from the database. And the third one is the password key that is also we are getting from the database. And if our password is not matched, we should return null. Let's change this password to password text. And if the password is matched, we should return the user. Let's generate this method and see how we can match password hash next. Let's copy this code that we are using to generate the hash and make the changes for our authenticate method. Here we do not need to get a password key because this time we will pass the password key parameter in the constructor so that our password hash is generated with the same key. Store this in variable and change it to password text. Now we have a password hash that we have generated with the same key it was originally generated. So both the computed hash here and the password we are getting here from the database should have the same hash value. We just need to compare these two hashes next, and as it is a byte array, we can compare the each item of these 2 byte array in a loop like this. It should start with 0 and loop through up to the password hash length. And here we can match each element of the array of these 2 password hashes. And if any element that does not match, we will break this loop and return false. And if everything is matched in these 2 arrays, we will return true. So our authenticate method is complete. Let's test it. This time we should get an unauthorized error as we are passing the wrong password. Yep, we get unauthorized error. And if we pass the correct password, we are getting a JWT token in response. Let's see what will happen if we try to log in using James and it does not contain hashed password and key. Yep, we have been able to break our code and it throw an error this time. And we are getting this error because we are passing null in password key in this function. Let's update our code to check password key as well here. And if it is null, we will not move forward. Instead, we will return null value from here only so that our controller should throw the unauthorized error. So this time we get unauthorized error because our database does not contain a required key for this user. So with this video, we have completed our security section. Next, we had a plan to generate API documentation using Swagger UI, but I am skipping this section and we will cover it later once the application is completed. So next we'll learn how to deploy this API on Azure. See you in the next video. Stay tuned. Bye bye. Take care.